Welcome to Elegant Themes using shortcodes. In this tutorial, I will explain the newly released shortcode from Elegant Themes. Due to the numerous variations of shortcode possibilities, this will be a basic introduction to the main features. Although I will use pages for the examples, the shortcodes will work with posts as well. Should you require additional training, please visit the support forum at the URL below. Before we begin this tutorial, please be sure to have upgraded to the latest version of your theme, which includes the new shortcode options. Here we can see the new menu in the post editor. This is the HTML view, which includes the column width, social icon, and other shortcode options. If you haven't performed the upgrade, log into your Elegant Theme account and download the latest version of your theme you are using. If you do not know how to update the theme, please visit the forum or use the link below for instructions via WordPress. What are the benefits of shortcodes? There are many benefits. However, the top three are ease of use, working more efficiently, and no coding experience necessary. We will go through the shortcodes in the order that they appear within the post editor, beginning with the Learn More block. The Learn More block has two states, open and closed, as you can see in this example. Now, let's create these examples from scratch. Click on the button that shows two arrows pointing up and down. You will be presented with an insertion box. The first field is the caption field, and this is where you will put the title of your post or article. Type test 01 closed. Leave the state field at the default closed position. In the content field, you can type anything. For this example, I have prepared filler text, which I will paste into the text block. Now, click OK. Click on the Preview Changes button on the top right hand of the screen. As you can see, our title appears on the top with a down arrow icon to the right. If we click on the arrow, the box opens to reveal the contents of our text block. Click it again, and it closes. Let's close the window and go back to our example. Place your cursor below the closed shortcode and click on the Learn More icon again. This time, type test 02 open in the caption and set the state to open. Add your text to the content block and click OK. Now, let's preview our changes. As you can see, the top box is closed by default and the bottom is open. Both will open and close using the arrow button. This is a great way to consolidate large amounts of text. To the right of the Learn More block is the box shortcode. The box has four states: shadow, info, warning, download, and bio, as you can see in this example. Now, let's create these examples from scratch. Let's click on the button with the four small colored squares. As you can see from the drop-down, we have 5 choices: shadow, info, warning, download, and bio, as we saw from the previous example. The list defaults to shadow. I will populate the content box with filler text I have prepared. Now, let's click OK. Using the Preview Changes button on the top right hand of the screen, we will see the newly created shadow box. Since each of the 5 choices behave in the exact same manner, I am not going to go through each one. Simply repeat the steps for the shadow box for the remaining 4 boxes. To the right of the box shortcode is the button shortcode. The buttons can be used for just about anything. However, for this tutorial, we will use them for navigation purposes. As you can see in this example, the buttons come in 3 flavors: small, large, and icon. The icon button is a specialized button with 12 choices, which you will see as we move through the tutorial. Now, let's create these buttons from scratch. Click on the button with the 2 ovals colored blue and green. The first field is the link field. This can be an internal or external link. I suggest using absolute paths, as they are the preferred method for search engine optimization, among other benefits. In its most basic form, an absolute path is the entire URL to the page, whether internal or external. This is using the http:// and then your path. For more information on absolute paths and the benefits, I suggest visiting this very informative article at the URL below. In the link field, I am going to use the Learn More page that we created earlier as our example link. Keep in mind that this path will look very different depending on your host and file structure. Next, we will choose our button type. Since it defaults to small, we can leave it at the default state and move on. The next choice is color. You may choose any color from the list. However, I will leave it at the default blue color. In the content box, type small, blue, button. And when you're finished, click OK. Using the Preview Changes button on the top right hand of the screen, we will see the newly created small blue button. You can also test the button link. And as you can see, it takes us to the Learn More page we created earlier. Now, we will use the exact same steps to create a large button. Using the same button, choose the drop-down for type and choose Big. You may choose any color from the list. However, I will leave it at the default blue color. In the content box, type Big Blue Button and click OK. Using the Preview Changes button on the top right hand of the screen, we will see the newly created Big Blue Button. Again, you can test the button link. The next button type is the icon button and follows the same steps with one difference. Click the button icon one last time in the post editor, and when the pop-up box appears, choose the link. Click the button icon in the post editor, and when the pop-up box appears, paste in our link. Next, we will choose Icon from the Type menu. This is where things change. The text block is in the same position, but a new drop-down menu has appeared. Type Download in the Content field and leave Download as the default icon type. There are 12 icons total, which can be used for various functions. However, for the purposes of this demonstration and time, we will use the default. Click OK. Using the Preview Changes button on the top right hand of the screen, we will see the newly created icon button, using the download of default. The applications for the icon button are endless. Use your imagination and have some fun. To the right of the button shortcode is the tab shortcode. The tab shortcode has 4 states, each with fade and slide options as shown here. Let's start from the top. These are called top tabs, fade, and slide. The next group are called left tabs, fade, and slide. And the last set are called simple tabs, fade, and slide. There's also an Images tab, which we will get to in a few minutes. Now, let's create these tabs from scratch. Click on the tab icon within the Post Editor. The Slider Type field shows top tabs, which is the default. Next is the Effect field, which defaults to fade. We're going to leave both of those at their defaults. The Auto and Auto Speed can be left at the defaults. However, if you wanted your slides to fade or slide automatically, which would be perfect for a slideshow, this is where you would set the options. The higher the number, the faster the transition. In the Tab Text field, type Test01. In the content box, I will use filler text that I have prepared. If you look below the content box, you'll see a link called Add One More Tab. We're going to click that twice to give us a total of 3 tabs. Now, all we need to do is fill in the remaining 2 content boxes, which I will use filler text. When we're finished, click OK. Using the Preview Changes button on the top of the screen, we will see the newly created tab navigation. Now let's close this window, go back to our example. Click on the tab icon again, but this time change the fade to slide. Everything else can remain at the default. Repeat the steps from our previous example and click OK. Using the Preview button, we now have 2 tab navigation systems with a fade and a slide effect. For the purposes of time, I am going to skip the left tab and the simple tab options as they are created in the same way as the top tabs. Now, let's clear the code from our screen and choose the tab icon one last time. The last slider type, Images, is completely different from the previous 3. As you can see, there are many more options with this tab selection. Next, we will fill in the image width and height. For this example, I will choose 800 pixels for the width and 600 pixels for the height. There is no need to type the word pixel or px after these numbers. Just type them as you see them here. If you want to use larger images, then pages are the way to go, and I will show you some formatting options as we go along. For now, leave the effect at the default fade state, and in the content box, type a relative URL to the image you would like to display. The image must be hosted on your server. This will not work with images hosted on any other servers. Click on the Add One More Tab link twice, as we did previously, to reveal a total of 3 content boxes. I have already prepared 3 images and their paths, so I will just paste the paths into the content boxes. And now we'll click on OK. Using the Preview Changes button, we will see the newly created image tab using the fade effect. However, it is too big for the page. I have 2 possible choices. The first is to size the image so it fits the default page width, or change the page width to accommodate the picture. In this case, I am going to change the page width via the New Page Width option that is part of the upgrade. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the Page Template dropdown. In the drop-down menu, we will choose Full Page Width. Before we can preview the page, we must use the Update button to update the page. Now, with the page updated, click on the Preview button. As you can see, the page now accommodates the image size. Using the exact same steps we just covered, create 3 brand new tabs and experiment with the slider options, as shown here. Remember, your imagination is your only roadblock. To the right of the tab shortcode is the author shortcode. This is an example of the author shortcode in action and can be used in many different ways. Let's create this page from scratch. Click on the last icon in the shortcode row. The first field is the image path. The image must be hosted on your server or it will not work. The next option is TimThumb. And for those of you who are not familiar with TimThumb, it is an image resizing feature exclusive to Elegant Themes, which will take any size picture and size it to fit accordingly, like our initial example. I will paste the path to my image in the field. Now, let's click OK. Using the Preview Changes button on the top right hand of the screen, we can see the newly created author page. Let's close the preview window and return to the post editor. Now, click on the author icon again. I will paste the same information into the image field, but this time I'm going to turn TimThumb off. Now, you may be asking what the advantages are for using this method. There are no advantages per se. However, a small percentage of hosting solutions do not play well with TimThumb. This is the only time you would choose this option. With TimThumb off, the image will not be resized, so you must manually size it to the TimThumb specifications, which are 57 by 57 pixels. Let me show you what happens if you do not manually resize your image. As you can see, the image breaks out of the frame and is shown at its full size. In closing, try the TimThumb option first. However, if you run into problems, turn TimThumb off and resize your image accordingly, which again is 57 by 57 pixels. That wraps up our post-editor section of shortcodes. Next, we will turn our attention to the HTML tab. Now, we are going to turn our attention to the HTML tab, which is directly to the right of the Visual tab. This is a code representation of your page. However, for our purposes, we will only be utilizing it for the remaining shortcodes. The first shortcode we will look at is the column width. As you can see, the column width shortcode gives you tableless column layouts with incredible control. The example we are currently viewing utilizes the full width page layout, and the column sizes are 1/3, 1/4, and 3/4 on the bottom. If we switch to the default template, you can see the columns take on a whole new look. This will take some experimentation on your part. However, the possibilities are expansive as your imagination. Now that we have seen the column shortcode in action, let's try it from scratch. You will need 3 paragraphs of text, which I have already prepared. In HTML view, we simply highlight the text we want to change and wrap it using one of the shortcode buttons. With our first paragraph selected, I will highlight the entire paragraph and click on the 1/3 button. As you can see, there is an opening and closing tag surrounding or wrapping around the text. Now, let's wrap the remaining 2 paragraphs using the 1/4 and the 3/4 buttons. Now, we can preview our handiwork by using the Preview Page button on the top of the page. Experiment with different column widths and page templates. You will be pleasantly surprised with the different layouts you can come up with. Next, we're going to check out the Social Icon button. The Social Icon shortcode allows you to place a social icon beneath your post or page. In this example, I am using the Stumble Upon icon. When your visitor clicks on the stumble icon, they will be taken to the Stumble Upon network, where they can stumble your page. Let's create a social icon from scratch. I have inserted sample text to give our page some depth. Place your cursor below the text, give it a few spaces, and choose the Dig button. The code will populate on the page. Alternatively, and this is for any of the shortcodes we have covered up to this point, you can type the code manually, resulting in the same effect. Using the Preview button on the top right-hand side of the page, let's take a look at our results. As you can see, the Dig button sits right below our text, and if we click on it, it will take us directly to the Dig page. The last shortcode that we will cover is the protected shortcode. Wrapping this around any word or sentence will create a password-protected page, as you can see in this example. Now, you may have noticed the fields do not line up correctly and the text is shifted. This is a bug that is exclusive to the Mac platform. The technical team at Elegant Themes are diligently working on a fix, and as a subscriber, you will be notified when the fix is completed. Let's create a protected page from scratch. In the text area, type the words protected page. Highlight the words and use the protected button to wrap the code around the sentence. Since we are logged in as administrators, we cannot preview this page. You will have to log out and preview on the live site. As a side note, this works in conjunction with the User Setup panel within the dashboard. The User Setup panel is beyond the scope of this tutorial. However, if you have questions, please visit our forums. This wraps up our tutorial on shortcodes. As I mentioned in the beginning of the screencast, we have only touched on the surface of what is possible using these powerful tools. For further instruction, please use the forum at the URL located below, and one of our knowledgeable and friendly moderators will be happy to assist